Well, here's a new bill the president signed. It was on July, I almost said January, July 22nd at the White House. And it's really about training people for jobs. You know, I mean, it's the first time we changed the legislation on this for about 15 years. See, we got billions of dollars every year that's given out, you know, for people who need jobs and get trained for the right jobs. I mean, it's silly to live in an economy like we are now. Look at the headlines now, you see that when jobs go begging because we have no skills. People don't have the right skills. So we have high unemployment and we have jobs going begging. Now that's crazy. I mean, look at here. Here's a Manpower has a listing of jobs, kinds of jobs that you can get because they're going begging. They can't find them. The hardest jobs to fill, like skilled trades. That means no degree. You just need the right skill that the people are hiring for. Sales representatives. Now that doesn't sound like a a science PhD, does it? Or drivers, or IT staff, accounting and finance staff, engineers, technicians, management executives, we need more of them, mechanics, teachers. These are skills that are in demand that we don't have enough people out there. So when you're looking for a job or doing something, you know, it's sort of supply and demand. You know, you want to make sure you're wanted. It's sort of like inventing something that nobody wants to use. Why invent it? So keep an eye on these kinds of things. And with all this new money going into these programs to help you get the skills. Because see, with a couple months training, you could get a great job that they're trying to fill. But if you don't have that training, you can't. And that's what this is available. And to find these, see, actually the new legislation doesn't go into effect for about a year. You know, but they still have current legislation that solves that problem and programs. And you go to your Career One Stop, CareerOnestop.org, not .com, and there you could find your local office that knows about these training programs. And whether you don't have a job or looking for a job, you have a disability and looking for a job, you're a young person looking for a job, there's still programs there. We're going to focus this more on the skills, because now what they do is give you money to get trained and there may or may not be a job. And that's crazy, isn't it? So go there if you're looking for jobs now, and keep an eye on this new legislation. It's called the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Okay, and you can Google that now if you want to see all the paperwork out on that. But it's going to be in effect in a year from now, in 2015. That's a year from now. In July, actually. That's when they got to start spending that money. But they still have a pot of money that you look like. So you're looking for training in the jobs that are available. You don't want to train for something that's not there. CareerOnestop.org. Well, I bet you had no idea that there's thousands of financial experts all around the country that get government grants to help you solve your financial problems for free. They don't cost you anything. You know, you'll probably go on the internet and Google like financial assistance or debt help or something like that, and you're going to get millions of people out there that are in business to get money from you to help you solve your financial problems. But these thousands of people are already getting money, so they don't have to get money from you to solve your problem. You just have to figure out how to find them. And they're expert. Actually, the Department of Agriculture has them all over the country that give grants to these experts, and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Now, if you're a member, you could go to Lesko.com, and we have a listing of all these people in every state. You just put in your state, and you'll get a listing of the people, not only the people that help you solve the problem, these experts, but money sources to help you pay your expenses so you don't have that problem. I mean, extra money to pay your utility bills, your phone bills, fix up your house, things like this, or just money to pay your mortgage or rent. That's right, there's money just set aside for that. And it's in the federal, state, local level, nonprofit organizations, and that's why we have state-by-state listings. You can get a report for free, as a member. Or if you're not a member, you can always go to Fiverr, F-I-V-R, what was it? Fiverr.com, and put in Lesko, and you'll see it there. And it's only $5 if you don't want to join and just want to see what we're all about there. So that's Fiverr.com, and put in Lesko, and we'll send you a custom report on that. Or if you're a member, just go to Lesko.com, sign in, and you'll see how to get your custom report there. Bye. Well, any day now, the government is finally going to come out with the final regulations that I think will be the biggest thing to small businesses, that has hit this country since, I don't know, the Great Depression. But this is a good thing because more and more businesses will be able to get money. See, right now, I mean, if you don't have your own funds or can't get a loan or everything, and you're looking for investors, you probably have to go to lawyers that are going to charge so much because the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, requires all these laws if you're going to sell stock in your company. So that's why it costs $500,000 to go out and get $1 million or something, because you're giving it all to lawyers. Well, now they're going to make that easier. And the new law, the Jobs Act, which was passed a little while ago, about a year or two now, is finally, the final rules are coming out to make it easy. You could go on the internet and get investors in your company all over the world. And this makes sense too, where it's going to be a boom not only for small business to go out and get millions of people giving $1 a piece or whatever to make their dream happen, but also investors to get inside information on the next, like Facebook or something. You can see all those big so-called IPOs that go out, a stock market that hit the stock market and making people millions and millions. That's all inside stuff. You have to know the right country club to belong to and the guy at the brokerage house and things like that. Well, now it's going to be all open on the internet, because of this Jobs Act. And the next guy we're going to interview here is an expert in this. He's an ex-Wall Street lawyer, and he had a PBS show called Money Hunt, People Hunting for Money, and he's a syndicated columnist on business and writes a column for Entrepreneur magazine. So he has a book coming out on this new equity crowdfunding. See, there's different kinds of crowdfunding. If you hear Kickstarter and things like that, that's not to start a business. That's to buy, for your business, the future product. They're not partners. But this is going to be actual partners. So it's a way to do that with very little money. That's okay. And here's some neat data about entrepreneurs I found in Forbes magazine. Every year almost 7 million new businesses start. 7 million. That's over 560,000 every month. So over 500,000 businesses every month they're starting. And most of those, the average that those people raise is about $78,000. And look where they get that money from now. They get of that $78,000, about $27,000, so about a third, comes from the people's personal savings. Then very little comes from spouses and parents, and other people say they'll be a partner or something like that. Now, from other investors and from venture capitalists and those kind of sharks, or even from government, only about 7,000. So that's less than 10% coming from there. Personal debt. Now that's about 5%. Family loans, about 10%. And then personal bank loans and credit cards and stuff like that. Gosh, almost half of it comes from there. So now all that will go away a little more, and with this news source. So watch this interview, start learning about it. His book is coming out. He wrote the book. He's just waiting for the laws to be finalized so he can make, whatever changes they make to the laws, and include them in the book, and it'll be out. So watch this interview and learn about the biggest pot of money that's coming out for entrepreneurs. It's coming soon. Well, Cliff Ennico, man, you're an author, a lawyer, a syndicated columnist, you got books out, you're helping us get through the legal waters of entrepreneurism and all this kind of stuff. But more importantly, you got a book out now that's going to help us, get through crowdfunding to start a business, because the laws of change is going to burst on the scene, and everybody and his brother's going to be into this, and all the new rules, don't you?
That's
what's
it.
going to happen and all this
Well,
kind of
well,
stuff.
my wife says that I'm a legend in my own mind, Matt. That's it. Yeah, this is what I
I'm the
do. This
same
is
way.
well, you have to understand. You're talking to a guy who writes law books for a hobby, so that tells you
I
a little bit about me and my social life and everything like that. But this is a major development, Matt. The
yeah.
laws are changing now in a very big way. Really, for the first time in almost 100 years now, it's going to be
Wow.
possible for startup and early stage companies, entrepreneurs,
Mm.
to promote their companies and raise capital publicly using
Yeah.
general advertising methods, crowdfunding, and all that. The Jobs Act, which Congress passed in 2012, authorized really opened the floodgates now to a lot of new fundraising things. You now can legally raise capital on the internet for the very first time,
Wow.
and that's a very exciting development.
But also more than that, it seems like if you're a private, you wanted to go public or whatever, you have to get these lawyers and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or whatever to follow all these rules. Now
Right.
that's gone. I mean, you can go
Well,
for almost nothing in
it's not
business.
totally gone
Right,
by
but
any
it's
stretch
a
of the imagination. We're going to talk
fraction.
about this, of course.
Yeah.
Whenever the government gives you something with one hand, Matt, they always
Right.
take it away with the other. So
right.
we're gonna talk a little bit about the
Yeah.
rules, but it's a lot easier than it used to be.
Right.
One of the biggest law changes, Matt. It used to be that you could, if you were a privately owned company, unless you did an IPO, you could not offer your stock to people
Uh-huh.
that you didn't know.
I see. Right.
Everything had to be prearranged, in a
Hmm.
very specific. It was a very specific
An
dance that you
IPO
had
is
to
one of
do.
those things like Facebook does and all this. You had to be in the in crowd to do, right?
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I'll give you an example. When eBay went public in 1996, I think it was, the founder, Pierre Omidyar, wanted to issue a special class of stock to his sellers, to the people that were selling stuff online.
I
And the
see.
rules at that time prohibited him from doing that. He
I
couldn't
see.
do it. He had to go through the big investment banks on Wall
Yeah.
Street and all of that. There
You
was a
had to
very
belong to a
specific
country
dance
club
that
to
he
do
had to
that.
do.
You
And
had
so
to
as a
belong.
result, a lot
Yeah.
of his people got left out of the offering. And these are the
Yeah.
people these were his fans. These are the people that he
Right.
wanted to reward for
Yeah.
their loyalty to the company. Now, under the new rules, a guy like Pierre Omidyar would be able to do something
Mhm.
like that.
But more
It's very
importantly,
exciting.
the average small business with not sitting on millions of dollars or hundred thousands of dollars now could get into that, and particularly more so when the rules are about to become easier in a few
Correct.
months, hopefully, or whenever that happens. And that's
That's
when the
exactly right.
important
And that's
stuff
the
is going to
exciting
happen.
thing. Companies can now reward their friends and family and
Ah,
their customers and their
right.
suppliers and their fan base in a way that they
Hmm.
couldn't before. And that's
Right.
what's really exciting about this whole
Hmm.
development.
And so it will be now. The SEC is working on the final rules. So I mean, like you could get a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 from almost anybody now
Yeah, that's the thing.
to be an
Exactly.
owner. Yeah.
And let's talk about that a little bit. There's two pieces to this,
Uh-huh.
Matt, and then let's talk about this. The first piece is what we call Title II. This is Title II of the Jobs Act, and this is in existence now. We're not waiting
Uh-huh.
for anybody. You can do this now. If you're looking to raise money for a startup or early stage company now, you can solicit funds
Uh-huh.
using what they call general solicitation methods of general
But now
advertising.
this is not crowdfunding like Kickstarter. This is crowdfunding for investors.
Right. This is
Right.
crowdfunding for investors. That's right.
Right.
And as long as you admit only what they call accredited investors, people
Fat
who have
cats.
a lot of money,
Right.
right? Fat cats, people with deep pockets, people who are
Yeah.
like Wall Street insiders, people that
Right.
know what they're doing. See,
Right.
the whole purpose of this, you have to understand, Matt, the securities laws are really just consumer protection laws.
Right.
That's all they are. Their job is to prevent average people from losing all their money from fraudulent tricksters.
Right. Some late guys on late night TV.
Right, yeah, late night information. Guys like basically guys like this.
Right.
And the SEC is there to protect them against.
Right,
There's a lot
yeah.
of fraudulent promoters out there with all
Right.
kinds of crazy ideas and stuff, and the securities laws are there to protect them,
Yeah.
the investor. That's what they're there for. So the idea is the accredited investor doesn't need that kind of protection. This is
Right.
somebody who knows what they're doing. They're a sophisticated investor, and the laws they don't need those protections. So
Mhm.
that's the whole idea. As long as you only admit those people into your
Right.
inner circle,
So for the average
you
person,
are legal
yeah.
now.
But for the average person, that's good now because I could be a small business and now find those people easier than before, right?
That is correct.
Right,
There are
right.
angel networks online,
Right.
you
So
know,
there's
Hands of
places
Angels
online,
and stuff
right.
like that. Angel.co is one of the big
Right.
ones, angel.co.
And
So
then,
now you can do that. You can go to these people and say, hey, I got a cool new startup company,
right.
run it by the network. And
Yeah.
as long as you
Yeah.
only admit, you got to be careful.
Right.
You have to make sure that these people are indeed accredited.
Right.
You can't just assume, just because somebody comes in and says, hi, I'm a millionaire.
Right.
You can't just trust that. You got to you have to get like a questionnaire from them.
Right.
You got to do some research, look at their tax returns. But that
Well,
you would
but
do
you
with
as
investors anyway.
the website handles a lot of that when you find
Yeah.
the websites to do it on.
With
So
these
now
angel
that's
bands,
what's
right,
now.
exactly.
But now what's going to be soon is I could be a little investor and get in on the next, Facebook or whatever.
Let's talk about it. This is the second piece. This is what they call Title III. I'm just using these names because it makes it easier to describe.
Right.
Title III is the section of the Jobs Act that says you can use a crowdfunding portal. That's
Right.
like a specialized website
Right, yeah.
to raise money from your Facebook fans, your family, your Twitter followers. You can now leverage social media to raise money, and you don't have to worry about whether or not they're accredited investors.
But they become owners. They're not like, see, my problem is a lot of people will think of crowdfunding now, oh, I'm putting money into businesses, but that's different.
No,
What
and that's not true. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I have seen Kickstarter campaigns
Right.
for, business type things. You have to understand, Matt, you are not investing in that company. You're not getting stock. You're not getting bonds because legally right now there's still some,
They can't.
These rules have to be developed.
Yeah. So what will happen in the future is that you'll be able to be. What will happen in the future? You'll be able to be an equity holder, own stock in a company.
That's what's changing. See, right now, if you're in doing a crowdfunding investing on one of these things, you're really making a gift to the company. Yeah. You're making a donation to them, and maybe they'll give you a little tchotchke or they'll give you one of their products or something like that, which is fine and dandy. But also keep in mind, whenever you make a donation to a for-profit company, you cannot take a deduction for that.
I see.
Even though you intend it as a charitable gift, the company has a social mission or whatever, you cannot deduct that as on your taxes unless it is a qualified 501c3 nonprofit. You cannot do that. And a lot of people don't recognize that. They think, oh, this is an investment, I'm going to get stock, and that's not what's happening. Exactly. The new SEC rules will allow that.
Happen.
Will allow
and
that.
So, and that's really set up now for the little investor to get into hot deals that they had to join a country club to do before.
Bingo. That's exactly right. So those eBay sellers could have, under the new rules, participated in eBay's public offering back in the 90s. That's the beauty of this whole arrangement.
And
now,
you're the guy who's going to keep us informed when exactly this happens and what the rules and regulations I should know, because you got the book, Crowdfunding Handbook.
Let's talk about that. What I have done here, Matt, is I've written the first book that I'm aware of. It tells you exactly, step by step, how to do a crowdfunded offering under the new rules. I mean, there's books out there that'll tell you what the law is, but who reads law books? Other lawyers. That's about it. People like me. I wrote a book that tells you step by step, are you right for crowdfunding? Is yours the right kind of company? Do you have a big enough fan base to do this? Because it's going to be costly. It's not going to be easy. You can't just, throw up a website and say, here's my company, I'm selling 20% for those much. You're going to have to go through a very specific process. You're going to have to register with a funding portal, which is a specialized website that is heavily regulated by the SEC, where you can put up all your documents and people can look and investors can look at them. It's a very, very, what they're doing basically here, Matt, is they're saying, we'll let you guys do whatever you want, but it has to be through one of these portals, and we're going to regulate the hell out of these portals.
But
that's how we're going to protect
It's
investors.
all going to be open to everybody too, so that would be nice.
Exactly.
Everybody will be able to see this stuff.
Right.
So
the only limit is that you cannot, at least under the current rules, you cannot invest more than $2,000 a year in crowd-funded offerings.
Right. But we don't know exactly yet until they.
We don't. This is all subject to being. Although that I think will stay. The $2,000 limit I think is going to stay.
Good.
Yeah, the biggest.
Well, wonderful, Cliff. I'll run out of time, so people really find out from your website. You're interested in this, want to get
website?
On into it. Yeah,
let's talk about it. The book is called The Crowdfunding Handbook. The Crowdfunding Handbook. You can pre-order it on Amazon now, believe it or not, although it's not going to come out until probably the late fall. And you can find out more about it at my other website, which is succeedinginyourbusiness.com. That's my
Okay.
nationally syndicated column. It's basically
Right.
an Ann Landers for
I
small
see.
business
Right.
owners
Right.
and entrepreneurs. They
Wonderful.
they ask crazy questions, and either I answer them or I get somebody like you who really knows what he's talking about to answer them. That's basically
So
what I do.
succeedinginyourbusiness.com.
That's it,
Well,
Matt.
Cliff, thank you so much. Thanks for keeping us up to date and everybody and expanding this opportunity, because that's what it is, for other people to take advantage of what the hell's going on in this country. Because the fat cats will do it, and now it's for the rest of
And
us.
now the rest of us.
Right.
This is capital raising for the rest of us now, and I'm very excited about it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Cliff. Take care.
Always a pleasure, Matt. Thanks.
There's a lot you could get out of this next story, well, or interview or whatever. It's a nice young man who was actually working for a company that was building buildings, and he sort of liked his job, but now is so happy. What he did, he went on a trip around the world or something for about 4 months, and with his camera, and carrying the camera was such a pain in the butt. All the camera straps he had, nothing was really right, and he's not a professional camera person or whatever. But then he came home and he started working on this idea for a camera strap, because he was just flopping around and really wasn't good to travel with or whatever. And so he worked on this, and then he found some people, like friends of friends, to help him work on this thing. Well, what happens 2 years later, he's done $2 million in crowdfunding for camera straps. Didn't have to go to venture capital or look for investors or anything like that. Got all the customers and the money and everything he needed, to do this venture, and he wasn't an expert in developing straps or anything. I mean, he was into something he really had no expertise about, and that's what's so neat about life today in our society. You don't need to be an expert in it, because there's help out there, easy to get, not expensive, to help you accomplish the ideas that you have just floating around your head. You can do it now more than ever before. Before, you'd have to go to some big company and hope to get in their door, and it's not working anymore. And thank God, because now we got everybody, you, me, whole people out there taking their idea and going to the internet and getting money for it, getting help for it or whatever, and putting that piece together and pushing us forward as a society. And the most important thing he talks about is the freedom. Man, the freedom to make those decisions and to solve people's problems and be on the front line of doing that, instead of working for some impersonal, you know what I mean, big company that nobody seems to care about or whatever. And it brings satisfaction back to our lives. That's what's so neat about doing things like this. So watch this and be inspired about taking the idea you have and trying to make something of it. Who cares if it fails? At least you're trying to do it. That's what's about life, is trying. So watch. Well, Peter Daring, man, I'm a young man from Minneapolis who was a civil engineer, chucked it all and learned the internet. And man, you're making straps for cameras and collected almost $2 million crowdfunding on the internet, and you're still going strong, man. You started a whole new career for yourself. Now, your parents angry that you wasted all that money in engineering school, or what did they think of this?
No, just because I'm not designing buildings or bridges doesn't mean that we can't apply a lot of the lessons that you learned. A lot of engineering disciplines, kind of the same stuff. It's about problem solving and a little bit of math.
I see. So if I'm a good problem solver and know a little bit of math, man, so I can make a zillion on crowdfunding. But it's more importantly, I mean, the straps. I mean, I carry cameras around, and when I look at your video on Kickstarter, I mean, it really explains the issue that you're tackling, and it's serious. I mean, it sounds superficial, but it's serious stuff. I mean, the strap stuff, because if you don't nail that down, you're not taking your camera anywhere, taking good pictures or anything. So how did this come to be important to you?
Well, it's funny. The strap is kind of the about the third iteration now of a better way to carry your camera. And that one came to me when I did about 4 months of travel where every day I had a large camera with me, and it was a total pain every single day. And I had a lot of time on these travels throughout India and Asia to think about how I would solve that problem. And the first way that I did that was the capture camera clip. I launched that one on Kickstarter as well. It did very, very well. Well enough.
Those little clips you put on an existing strap, is that what those are?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. And believe it or not, it didn't exist before I put it out there on Kickstarter in 2010. And so what you've got now is it was a big enough success to launch a company called Peak Design, and we're sort of now in the business of carrying your camera.
You bring a Sherpa with you to carry your camera.
Right.
And by the way, right now, you're traveling on the highway in Florida, so I mean, you're not part of a Disney movie or something like this.
No, I'm not part of a Disney movie. I'm part of a wedding party that's going to be happening in the Florida Keys. And being South Florida, we're subject to torrential downpours.
Oh, right.
At any whim, so just one.
But on the camera, I mean, did you think that there was a business in just doing straps, helping people figure out how to carry a camera, or was this the first one just a whim, or you hated your job, or how'd you get there?
I certainly didn't hate my job. I liked my job quite a bit, but I definitely wanted to do something on my own, and I wanted to do something just different. And I thought that I'd always had, like a lot of engineers, they'll have a lot of ideas about how you might solve certain problems. And this just presented itself as a problem that enough people had, and the market was large enough that I thought, even if it doesn't go gangbusters, I'm going to be able to sell 1,000 of these things.
I see.
And hopefully, feed my 26-year-old self.
Well, I mean, but looking at the team that you built around this, I mean, you're an engineer from Minneapolis and building libraries. How'd you find all these design people? I mean, 'cause it's exquisite stuff, and everything you seem to do, all the products seem to be so well made. Your video is just exquisite too. So everything obviously has a lot of talent, a lot of love, and heart in the project. And how do you go about finding, the people that help you do that?
Well, one by one. I've never put a want ad in the paper or on Craigslist. Obviously not in the paper, but we've grown that's a good indication of organic growth. And the first acquisition was my buddy Adam. I searched from within the ranks of my friends, and he's my director of marketing. And then and he's phenomenal. And then the second add-on was the luckiest find in the history of the company. The other finds have all been wonderful.
Who's the second find? Is that the design guy or what?
Yeah, that's Art. That's
Art. I see, Art. Yeah.
And I hired him because I needed someone to help me out with shipping and customer service.
I see.
And I said, but I knew he had skills in 3D design software and also 2D design. And so I was thinking the combination of shipping, customer service, and design, that's a useful person. He did about a week of shipping and customer service. He was terrible, but he was phenomenal with design. And he quickly became a very important part of the team.
Wow. No, it looks terrific. And actually, on Kickstarter, you have like 3 different things you could get now. And the reason to get them now, because once you're finished with this, I mean, it'll go out retail and it'll be a lot more expensive, right? So people, if you're a camera buff, you want to see this now and not wait until they're in the stores. But so you have the big shoulder or the big strap, you call it, or the slide, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the clutch, and that's the hand thing. And it looks like with the hand thing, it not only leaves your hand, malleable enough to do all the buttons and all that kind of stuff that are on these cameras now, but really secures the camera.
It does. And you either did a great job of researching this, or our videos are effective enough to actually tell the story, because you're saying all the right things.
Really?
And that's exactly what we want people to get out of that little snippet of attention that you can actually grab from people.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, that's why the videos are done, and they're done cleverly, and they're funny, and the guy putting on the brassiere and all that. I mean, this is what communication is all about, and that's why probably your marketing guy is the most important person you hire initially, right?
At any given moment, it's either the marketing guy or the design guy or the supply chain guy or the finance guy. Like, everyone plays the most important role at some point during the week. That's the
Well, what the hell are you doing there? That's what.
Yeah, I don't know.
I see you're going to a wedding.
I'm doing all of those jobs less well than they do it.
I see.
And that's why they're in place.
So is this what you envision for yourself? I mean, having successful small business in a technology field and a high design tech? I mean,
I don't know at what point I may have envisioned it. Envisioning things is a weird thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can envision something like this until you've lived it. You don't really know what it's all about. But I did envision, once I came up with the idea for Capture, launching a company, and although I didn't know what that would really entail, this is exactly what I wanted, which was really the best thing about this is the freedom, freedom to just make our own decisions and hopefully make good decisions and see the reaction of customers and the professional industry, really. We've actually been able to kind of create some waves in an industry, and it's a lot of fun.
Now, when you started the company, or even now, are you also using venture capital and things like that besides crowdfunding, or just crowdfunding?
Not a dime of venture capital.
Wow.
We've been approached by some people who would like to invest, but we've been able to finance triple-digit annual growth.
Wow.
The trickiest part of that is basically it's about a 7-month sales cycle from when we put a purchase order in to when we get paid for that product. And when you're growing really rapidly, it's tough to pay for the cost of goods sold. But very happy to report we've been able to do it without venture capital exclusively because of almost $2 million now in Kickstarter funding.
Yeah, no, that's terrific. Well, I think the product is wonderful. The 3 products you have now, I mean, they're terrific. I'm a camera guy, not a big camera guy, but I could use it. I got a Canon I'm using now, and it's obviously good. And when I go out in the field, you're a savior. I mean, the people with cameras, really. And what's interesting about your video, it says you're encouraging people to use it more. And that's a wonderful bottom line motive of all this. It's people can enjoy life more if they're capturing it and taking the time to look at it more carefully through a camera.
Yeah, I hope so. I have no false pretenses that we're saving the world or anything like that. But I think as you point out, the motive is good. The motive is good to get people to enjoy a hobby more, and that's enjoying life more. And so it's a very happy business to be in.
Yeah. Well, wonderful. Well, you're a delight, Peter. And so people that get on Kickstarter now, because you only have a couple more weeks on this to get it at a bargain price, it's peakdesignltd.com, right? That's where to find you. And even after, well, actually, go to Kickstarter. You got to watch that video. It's like watching Saturday morning cartoons, and it'll keep you excited. That's a wonderful thing. And thanks for being there, Peter, and using your talents to share with the rest of us on some really well-made products. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. I really appreciate it.
Take care. Oh, is that a cop pulling you over?
Possibly. We might have to go.
Take care.
Bye, Matthew. Cheers.
Well, how would you like to travel around the world and have a business on the web? The internet, so no matter where you're going, you have your business, and you could be in Morocco or Tanzania or Hawaii or even Scranton and still have your business. Now, this is what this guy did, but mostly what he also does is teach you how to learn another language easily. He said, gosh, and I'm struggling trying to learn Mandarin. So when I saw this, man, I'm getting this thing. Because he said, like a little kid, when they learn a language, man, they're not looking up a book and saying how to pronounce this part of the word and that part of the word and everything. Man, they just hear somebody say it and they repeat it. You know? So how to have fun learning a language like that and get those eyeballs out of the way and just have your brain and ears, you know, absorb it like a kid does, you know, and learn a language. And we make it so complicated. You know, when he was talking about this, I think about how golf, you know, when I was trying to hit a good golf ball, I said, you know, keep this arm straight and think of this and think. And when I'm thinking all those things, I can't just hit the ball. Because I'm thinking about everything else. So language is the same way. And he's a delightful fellow. What you got to do is go to his website and watch the video, because it is so funny. This guy, this guy should be a comedian and not someone who teaches you how to use language. And he's on the internet, doing it on the internet. And he's making all this money on the internet, so he'll show you how to do that no matter where you are in the world. Now, wouldn't that be a life? Watch this. Well, a doseness! And you got a wonderful course that I need just so I make sure I say your name right. You know, I look at your name and I say, how the heck am I going to say that? And then I read about your language course, and God, you make language so easy. I mean, it sounds like a natural. I've been struggling with Mandarin for 3 years now. I know 12 words, and every time I say them, nobody who speaks Chinese understands what the hell I'm saying. And I don't know how a young guy like you know, could solve that problem when we have all these PhDs all over the goddamn world trying to do this, and you make it fun, man. I look at your stuff and I just want to just get up and dance and learn. Yeah. So where did this come from? Where in your soul? Because you obviously are pouring your soul out in this. You know, does this idea or this need to help people with language come from?
Well, I've always had a kind of knack for language, and I've always kind of asked the question, why was it easier for me than it was for other people? And I always had a kind of intuition, is because I focused a lot more on pronunciation and mimicry and sound. And I would tell this to people when they would try as well, but then it was also difficult for them to, like, you know, hear a Chinese sound and then mimic it. So I did more research and did kind of stuff. I had an epiphany one day that you can actually teach that skill to other people. Teach that skill to hear a foreign language sound and then create it with your mouth. So I applied techniques I learned from being a musician my whole life to the teaching of sound of a language. And because it's all musical, and because at the end of the day we're doing this for fun, I always try to, you know, inject as much personality and good time having into the whole process. So it's good stuff, and that's basically what I focus on.
Well, I mean, when you say that, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's sort of like, you know, we complicate things as, you know, intelligent humans. You know, like when I got to try to hit a golf ball, keep this straight, bend this, you know, put your weight here, do that, you know, and I forget about just hitting the goddamn thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So with language, you're saying that, you know, and when you, like, you have these raps and things like that, when you do that and you feel that rhythm, man, it's just, as the name of your course is, all about flow. It just happens. It's a natural process if you let your naturalness come out, but because we think we're so smart.
Exactly, yeah. That's the problem. People overthink language way too much. And I think the main problem is because we have our eyeballs, and our eyeballs always get in the way. At the end of the day, when you talk to somebody, you're not talking with your eyeballs, you're talking with your ears and your mouth. So if you close those, don't read anything, don't write anything, don't think, don't conjugate verbs in your head, don't do prepositions. Just mimic people. If a Chinese guy points to something and he says 苹果, and he's pointing to an apple, then you say 苹果next time you want an apple. Like, it's not hard. So all we're doing is just focusing on getting you to say 苹果 a little bit better, you know, getting you to say apple a little bit better.
That's why, you know, kids learn so easy, because they don't have all that bullshit in their head already.
Yeah, they don't have bullshit. They're not reading. You don't walk into a room and see a 2-year-old with Oxford Dictionary. But
what's the first syllable, the second syllable?
Exactly.
Dada, that's it. Oh, that's true. And I think it's such a natural now, you know, in our life, because God, I mean, now, I mean, our country alone is going to be half foreign-born people, before we in about 20 years. So I mean, that's it's a casserole everywhere, that we have to live. And what I see as an older person, not only having something to do with the mind, that forces it, like I run every day to keep the muscles going. So how do you keep the brain going? I think learning a language like with your system is a fun way to keep that brain. Why do this? What's that? Philosophy or something on NPR I hear all the time, some kind of brain, puzzles or bullshit. Why do I want to learn a bullshit puzzle for my brain? Yeah, some practical. And I could get your course and learn some practical in a fun way.
Yeah, that's the core of the message. Like you said, the world is becoming a casserole, and once again, people overcomplicate things and they focus on, okay, I have to learn these rules and these rules. I call it the mimic method because, in my own life, I come to realize in my travels that it's all about being able to adapt.
Yeah.
And for example, I learned Portuguese in Brazil. And I went there, I went to Brazil, threw myself in the environment, had a bunch of crazy run-ins, had a gun pointed at my head one day when I woke up in the morning, lost all my money, a bunch of crazy stuff. But in the process, I adapted and very quickly spoke Portuguese well enough that Brazilians thought I was one of them.
You learned the word for help. Really.
For help, for reality, for adapting. And then fast forward, I go to Portugal a few months ago where they speak a completely different Portuguese. But once again, I don't focus on rules. I just put myself in the environment, mimic, and now I'm able to establish relationships with people and connect with people in different ways. So it's all about having fun and, above all, just being able to connect with your fellow human beings with what we've always been using to connect with each other, which is, once again, our ears and our mouths.
Right.
So
but another interesting thing about you're developing this thing on the world, being in different in languages, because you find that you're able to be an entrepreneur anywhere in the world, right? As long as you have a laptop, you say you go to Vietnam, you go to South America, whatever, and you stay here a month, there a couple months or whatever, and just still do your business. And really these other places are a lot cheaper to survive in while you're building a business, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very fortunate to be born in this internet era where I can, before if I had this idea of how I could Chinese language, it's just me and like the guy next to me. I can't. But now I can reach out to anyone in the entire world just with my laptop, which means I can take advantage of my lifelong dream of traveling. And it helps out too when I travel, when I learn a new language. It gives me more insight into how I can help people solve this problem even better. So that's why I do it, really.
I see. Right. No, because that's why. People want to learn a language. They hope to travel to Italy or whatever, or Mexico and things like that. But now, and also I think even in commerce, we want to learn Mandarin. Why? Because they're going to be the biggest economy. They're almost the biggest economy now. We want to sell something in the world. Man, you can't miss China.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think what's wonderful, particularly us as developed countries, when you go to these other countries that are less developed, it gets you back to a little more reality about what life is really about. Like our world is so goddamn sophisticated. We worry about shit that the tips of shoelaces or something like that.
Exactly. It gives you a better appreciation for what humanity has been existing for the past million years.
And you feel more alive when you realize in those environments. So you're helping not only people speak languages, but people have a better sense of what life is all about, I feel. With you traveling around and understanding different cultures and trying to get us to be more natural in learning a language or speaking a language, and really that's understanding another culture, because it gives you an insight to yourself and, to me, a more meaningful life.
Yeah, for me, I always focus, one of the things I seek out most is perspective. So you go to China. It's a very simple, stupid example. I was in Berlin last month, and I go to the ATM machine, or I walk into the building where the ATM machines are, and you walk into one, and there's ATMs lined against the wall, and they're all facing you, and you have to look over your shoulder to make sure no one's checking your thing. So I go to this ATM in Berlin, and all the ATMs are pulled out from the wall and turned around. So you have to go around.
Oh, I see.
The
line
behind
you
is in the back, so there's no problem with people speaking. It's such a
dumb,
but you take so many things for granted in whatever environment you're used to. What travel does is it flips things on its head and asks you, it makes you ask more questions, like, why do you do things this way, you know? And that's
exactly.
So the questions, it's all about questions at the end of the day, and just thinking of new solutions and new answers and new perspectives, you know?
So you're able to travel around the world, have a business on the web, support yourself, and have a hell of a life and fun every day, it seems. And that's why people should at least watch your video, man, because you have so much fun trying to explain it to people. So you're on Kickstarter now, and that'll be there for a while. But even though you raised all your money, so you're building the product now, but really, you go to your website, which is Mimic Method, MIMICMETHOD.com, and that will get you either the Kickstarter, see that, or the videos on your site, and your current programs you have. And actually, the one you're working on now will be an enhancement, right, to what you have now. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, you're a delight, and thank you so much for being there and sharing your joy with everybody else and encouraging us to learn more about what the hell other people in the world are doing.
Exactly.
Because that enriches all of us. So thank you so much.
For sure.
And I salute you.
Take care.
Take care. This guy's crowdfunding for one of the neatest things I've ever seen. It's a little gadget that you put on your keychain, you know, and it looks like one of those things that come with a car key now, about that size. And what it is, when you go out on a meeting or a blind date or anything, it's going to save marriages, make you not look like an idiot, save jobs, everything, and make you look better in life than you've probably ever been. Because what it does is gives you an out. This is called, you know, it's a social thing. You could just press the button on it, and then it rings your phone. So your cell phone rings, and on the cell phone are these pre-recorded messages that you choose which one to be there, and it'll tell you what to say to this idiot that you're having lunch with, or a blind date with, or the guy won't get out of the meeting with, to get you out of there. You know, like the old babysitter's sick, or whatever it is, you know, and you just repeat so you don't have to think about it. And it's a wonderful, cute idea. Yeah. And he's trying to raise money, like $100,000 on the crowdfunding on the internet for it. But he's a delightful fellow. And what's neat about it, you gotta see the videos. They're funny as heck. I mean, they have this woman talking to the most boring date in the world, you know. And the first thought in mind is she's throwing water on this guy, and she doesn't have to, because she just presses this thing discreetly, and her cell phone rings and gives her a note. So anywhere, that guy in the office who hangs in your office for hours sometimes, you know, and you want to work and you don't know how to get rid of him without making a fool out of him or yourself or whatever. So it's actually a polite way to get out of, you know, uncomfortable situations. Sure, you could tell him he's an idiot or something like that, but, you know, that doesn't go a long way, you know. And it really does nobody good. I mean, the fellow knows he's an idiot, so he just has to be coached a little differently. So this is a way to do that. Save face, save relationships, and not look like an idiot yourself. So watch this. Well, Ivan Lucianchuk. Did I get it close?
Oh, it was Lucianchuk.
But more importantly, who cares about the name? It's the website. You know, this is your out, man. And you got this little gadget, right? You're fundraising for now on Indiegogo, and it gets you out of a bad date, you know, idiot boss, a meeting you don't want to be into. It's a little gadget that you just nonchalantly press, right? And it calls you.
Yep.
And there's a person on the other line telling you what to say to everybody else. It's a genius idea.
Thanks.
You're going to save marriages, jobs, people's sanity, everything. So how did you get into this? You just hate people? Is that why you don't want to be
So it was actually, it was my wife's idea. I can't take all the credit on it. And so she works in an insurance company as an underwriter. And she works with a bunch of different sales reps. And she got connected. She has to work with a really, let's say, chatty sales rep. You know, I think she said the shortest phone call she's had with the guy is 36 minutes. And
Oh my
most
God!
of the time, a one-line email would suffice. And she
I
keeps telling him, just send me a quick email, but he refuses.
I
He just loves to talk, right? So she went to their office one day, and I guess everyone else knows about this guy's reputation.
I see.
And they have a protocol. If this guy goes to anyone's office to talk to someone, everyone keeps a lookout. And if he's
I
there
see.
longer than 10 minutes, you have to call the guy who's stuck
I
because he can't leave his own office, or else he'll never see work done. So,
I see.
no,
Oh, you can't do that on a blind date, can you?
that's right. That's right. So we kind of thought, you know what, this is a great idea. You know, people come and talk to you all the time, and sometimes you just don't want to talk to them, or you don't have the time, or
Oh man.
maybe you're not even making eye contact. You're like, yep, 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 and they just they don't get the hints.
Yeah, no, I mean, I read a book, a Roman philosopher, I forget his name, very famous, and he was saying, your time is the most valuable thing you have in life. People could take all your possessions, who the hell cares, you know? But it's your time, you can't get that back, you know?
Exactly.
So some idiot comes and takes an hour of your time, man, that is... You know, you can take my house even. What you do with your time is the most important thing you have in life.
Exactly.
So that's what you're really doing is showing people that, man, your time is so precious and you can't give it away to idiots, you know, who have no conception. Because idiots don't even know they're doing bad.
Yeah.
And they don't
know.
Yeah, they don't know it. And even if you told them they were an idiot too, they've heard it before, so it doesn't matter them.
Yeah, yeah.
But it will hurt you because you would think if someone said that to you, I wouldn't get over it. Yeah,
Well, I know, right? And there's people that they just don't get it because they never need it. But at the same time, your time's valuable. And sometimes you can't just say, like, I don't want to talk to you, you're boring, you don't want to rock the boat, especially if you have to work with the person, and then suddenly it's awkward for the rest of your life, so you kind of got to suck up and put up with it. How do you get out of that, right?
But I think it's polite. I mean, that is more polite than telling somebody they're an asshole. You know?
Exactly, right? It's a way to get out of it without offending anyone.
Right, exactly. And it's more human. It's realizing the other person has feelings. And so it's, I think, a very respectful way to handle those situations as opposed to a disrespectful way of picking your nose and trying to look around, you know. And so that's why I think it's an important thing, even so it sounds like a gag and just a fun item. But I think all of our time is so important in life. I mean, what you do with your time, I think, is the most important thing you have in life, you know, and you can't get it back ever. And that's what we should be thinking, I think, about ourselves all the time. We can't be blasé about our time and give some idiot an hour of time because you're stuck there.
Yeah, I know.
So that's, I mean, you're an IT guy, but you must be a sociologist or something, or a philosopher. Or
I minored in speech communication.
I say, oh really?
Yeah.
Wow. You mean to get the computer to talk, or
Yeah,
what?
like to be able to talk to people as well as computers, I guess. Put me one up from my peers, you know.
Well, that's what. And the gadget is like what, $30 or something? $35. That's it, right?
Yeah.
And you get 25 calls. And what I like is for $69, you call it I Hate Everybody package, right?
Yeah.
So you get a message a day for the whole bloody year. So you can just keep pressing that button all the time.
Yeah.
And having people call you, that's just genius. And the little gadget, man, it's something you put on your keychain,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah,
it's
here it
just
is. This is the
so there it is, right? It looks like part of your car.
Yeah, I mean, it's about like
right.
the same size as,
Right,
like
same
car
size or whatever.
It's meant to be
Right.
discreet so no one knows you have it.
Right, nobody. So somehow you figured out the electronics that you press that goes somewhere in the sky, right? And makes a phone call to your cell, right?
Yeah.
And then you choose what you want to hear. So you have a whole bunch of different kind of messages, like for a boss, for a bad date, for a mother-in-law, for
Babysitter.
Babysitter, I see. Right, everything. And then you have upgrades too, that if people want to put their own voice on there, right?
Yeah.
To hear, or your own message or whatever. But for the average person, I don't even have to think that much. I mean, you're giving me the out,
Yeah.
right? So you're giving me the story, you're repeating the story in my ear. So the phone rings and it says, tell this guy that the babysitter died or something like this. And you have to leave. Yeah. That's wonderful. But I think what's really neat about this are these videos you have on your Indiegogo project that are just terrific. I mean, the actors, they look so real, and there's all those unpleasant situations. And the most interesting thing about who's the guy who plays the obnoxious date?
The obnoxious date. He's just a friend who's doing another startup, and that.
Oh, he is really.
Yeah.
But more importantly, he talks like an obnoxious date, and he's bragging about his life, and that's his real life.
That's his real life. Yeah. Those things are all true story.
So, I mean, he must be a good-natured man just to take that. But that's funny. I mean, people have to go and see this, the video, because it's a great little play. The guy brags about, I had like 3 fencing championships, and then I had to get on a private jet and go down for my first job, and it was so much money, but they were, giving people cancer. And but you had it. So now this is it really just because of the internet we're able to do this, or this does not require the internet? I don't understand.
You don't need an internet plan. All you need is a cell phone. It doesn't have to be a smartphone. Can you hear?
I see.
Can you hear my dog background there?
Oh yeah, no, that's great. Does he want? Does he want to buy one or what?
Yeah. So, it basically, it's Bluetooth to your phone, just like a headset.
Oh, I see.
So if you ever use a headset or hands-free device, it's the same. You sync it to your phone, and then you don't need an app to use it. So if you have an old phone or a $0 phone, it still works with it.
Wow.
And you just hit the button. As long as you have phone service, you don't need internet or data. It'll send a signal to my system using your phone.
So I could have my out phone that just has basic phone, right? Like a flip phone or anything, right?
Yeah.
And I could have that, and that's my get out of here phone, and I carry that around, and I have this little button on my keychain, and this is boring as hell. I press the button, and this phone rings, and oh Jesus, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Well, that's wonderful. Well, so people want to get this or find out about it, because I think it's worth just watching the video. What you did with that is wonderful. This is You're Out. People know how to spell that, I hope. .com.
Yeah.
You go to that website and you'll see the Indiegogo campaign, and you got a bunch of neat little videos, and they're better than YouTube videos because they're funnier. Yeah.
Thanks.
So thank you for being there, Ivan.
Yeah, thanks.
Ivan. Yeah. And it's great stuff and good fun, and thanks for making life more exciting for us.
Yeah, thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, take care.
Hey, you too.